Hi, hello, welcome. My name is Bethany. My pronouns are she, her, and I am coming to you from Northern Ontario, Canada, where kind of gray, kind of sunny. The light is changing all the time, so we're going to see how this works out. But so far, so good. This is a project update video. It's been about 4 weeks since I posted my last project update video, and I have gotten a lot done. I have been in an absolute finishing frenzy, it seems. Also, like, starting and finishing really rapidly. So let's get right into it. Right now, we'll talk about what I'm wearing, which is also my first finished object. It was a work in progress the last time I filmed, and this is the All for One sweater by Jen Parrocinni. This is knit out of Remix Light in the color Dijon. I knit the body on 4mm needles, and the neck and the cuffs are knit on 3.5mm needles. That is just what was good for my gauge for the sweater. My gauge was off a little bit, but it was fine for the size that I chose. And I have knit with this particular yarn before, and knitting the main stockinette body part on 4mm is just perfect, and I love the way the fabric looks, so I just went with that, really. I did swatch. I promise I swatched this time. Like I said, my gauge was a little bit off compared to what the pattern recommended, but because of the size I was choosing, which, if I'm not mistaken, was size 4 in this case. In Jen's patterns, I'm always either a 3 or a 4 for the sizing. Often a 3, actually. But I think this time I knit 4, and I don't remember why. I think just the bust circumference was better. Closer to my upper bust measurement. My gosh, my words today. Yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it. I won't stand up just because of my filming setup, but one of my favorite features, which I will get closer to the camera to show you, and I showed it last time, is the cable detail in the raglan, which was, I don't want to say it was the only reason I wanted to knit this sweater, but it was a big contender. I just thought that the detail there was so cute. I do love cables. I don't always love knitting them. I did knit another of Jen's patterns a few years ago, and it was all cabled. It was we're gonna put it right here because filming Bethany can't remember what the name of it is. Anyway, it was an all over cabled cardigan, and it's gorgeous, and I wear it a lot. That was a lot of cabling. So sort of since then, I'm always wary of how much cabling there is in a garment pattern in particular. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased with it. My only thing, and this is what we've been talking about the last few episodes, are my sleeves too short? Or are they just right? They're a weird length, but also when I have my arms down, comes right to my wrist bone when my arms are down, like when I don't have my arms bent, and like it's pretty comfortable. And I'm also that person who always like shoves their sleeves up all the time. So like I'm just living with it for now. And I have been wearing this, I don't want to say every day since I finished it, but like pretty close. Like I keep picking it up like every other day, which proves that the color is not a problem. I thought it was maybe going to be a problem fitting into my wardrobe. Turns out it's fine, or at least it's fine for this time of year where I'm reaching for earthier, darker, more autumnal shades anyway. But yeah, I've been wearing it just around the house. I've been wearing it to work. And every once in a while I look down and go, oh, my sleeves look short, but like it's also not getting in the way, so maybe they're fine. Luckily, I definitely overestimated for my yardage for this. I bought 4 balls of this yarn, and I really only used 2.5 because I have a full ball left over, plus, you know, most of another one. So hopefully there's enough for a vest. even if I do go back and lengthen the sleeves by, say, an inch, I think there's still enough yardage for a vest, which I think would be very cool. Speaking of vests, let's talk about my next finished object. It was a what's next plan the last time I filmed, and it is now a finished object. Here is my See My Vest worsted, and I don't remember the maker name, but the pattern will be up here. It will be up here. I knit this out of the main Tweedy yarn. Let me just get this closer for a second. The main Tweedy yarn is Hello Stella, either Tweed Merino or Merino Tweed. We'll find out. That's what the body is knit out of, held together with Malabrigo lace in the color Cognac. And as I previously mentioned in my last video, I had held these two particular yarns together for a previous project, and I loved the way they looked together. And I was able to knit the entire vest out of that combination without needing to use another yarn. With this one, I knew I was chancing because of the gauge. I knew I was chancing needing something else for the collar and the armband and the hem. And that was absolutely true. I only had just enough, truly just enough, to knit the body. And then I had another skein of brown yarn that was almost the same color as the Hello Stella tweed. And I figured held together with Cognac, you wouldn't be able to tell too badly. You can definitely tell more on camera that the yarns are different. But in real life, it is hard to tell. And I think even if you can tell, because I stuck with doing it for basically all the edgings, it looks intentional. So we kind of love that. This is something else that I have been picking up very often because it's so, just the combination of the yarns is so soft and like almost like, you wouldn't think it's luxurious, but it is actually, these two yarns held together. And it's just very autumnal, right? It's brownish, sort of burgundy-ish and tweed, and it's a vest. So yeah, I believe for the main body, let me just check. Yes. And actually the whole thing was knit on 5mm needles. Again, my gauge was a little off, so I just chose my size accordingly, which was the size medium, which was great. I can't remember whether I stuck to the body length recommended in the pattern. I suspect I did not, because I think I just knit until I ran out of the tweed yarn and then just did the rest in the other yarn that I had on hand. But yeah, I'm really, really pleased with how this turned out, and I've been wearing it a lot, and hopefully I'll continue to wear it throughout the winter, because vests are fast becoming wardrobe staples for me. A finished object, and let me just get hair off of it, are my stripy socks. Gosh, I love how they look. So they're sisters, not twins, or cousins, not sisters, whatever you want to call them. I didn't bother trying to match the stripes on them, and I think that's fine. They are within a couple of stripes of each other, which definitely makes them, like, they're clearly a pair, just not a matching pair. And I don't know whether I mentioned this before, but I was knitting them on 2.25mm needles, which is basically what I knit all of my vanilla socks on, just because I like the gauge. Sometimes if the yarn is thinner, I will go down 1 to a 2mm, but that is a very tight gauge and that kind of hurts my hands, so I try not to do it. The heel is knit with a spare leftover yarn, which I still can't remember what it is, so if I remember, I'll put it in the description. And I just love that it basically matches the sort of gold or mustard stripe in the actual yarn. This is Mudpunch self-striping yarn in the colorway Zero Fox Given. So that is definitely what I've been calling them in my brain. I've been calling them the Zero Fox socks, which I find funny. Yeah, so I'm really pleased with how these turned out, and I think these are just going to be so cozy now that the cold weather is actually here. Also, I love this color combination, and I forget whether I talked about this last time, but to me this is such an unexpectedly autumnal stripe color combination. Like, I think initially when you look at these, you don't necessarily think autumn, but like the more I sit with it, the more it is autumnal. Or maybe it's just cozy. I don't know. There's something about this color palette that I'm just like, yeah. And I was really happy to be working on them over the last few weeks. Okay. Another finished object, which was a long-standing whip, is... Dun, da, 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 is my Thistlethorn cowl. And yeah, this was knit using Luette Gems Sport or DK, I forget which was the plain navy color that you can see here along the I-cord. And then the sort of color changing yarn is Spin Cycle Dyed in the Wool in the color Nevruary. And let's just pop this on to see how this looks. It's not gonna be super aesthetic over this, but that's okay. Okay. So I will say I didn't knit the neck as long as the pattern recommends. Once you join to knit in the round, basically at the back of the neck warmer, it says to knit that set of instructions until the piece measures 6.5 inches. I topped out at 5 inches from where I joined at the back. This is probably just because I don't have a particularly long neck, and I was looking at what 6.5 inches looked like with my tape measure, and I'm like, that's going to be way too long, and that's going to be like fussy and annoying, and I don't think I'm going to like it, because I kind of wanted it to like kind of stand up on its own and not be too floppy, which is exactly what this is doing. This is curling a little bit. It's totally fine, but we can sort of do this, make it look cute, make it look aesthetic. I really liked working on this, just for the experience of learning the colorwork stitch and the like thistle stitch essentially that's in here. And it was really pleasing to watch the Dyed in the Wool color change throughout the project. So yeah, I'm really pleased with how this looks. It will be interesting to see how much use I do get out of it, because I do have a couple of other triangle shaped neck warmers that I have talked about on previous episodes. So I don't know if this will actually make it into like regular rotation, or whether this will be like a special knit that I wear. It's like, oh, we're going out to dinner somewhere, we're going somewhere where we're going to be outside for a bit, and you want to have like a cute accessory to walk around in. But we'll see. But I'm going to take this off because it's a little warm. It's a little warm with many layers on. But yeah, I really, really love how it turned out here. Let's put it over here. Yeah, so this was really, really cute. And I was knitting this all the way through. It was knit on a 3.5mm needle. That, like I've discussed before, that might have been slightly tight for the gauge. I think I could have gone up to a 4mm with no problem, and I don't think the fabric would have ended up looking too loose even after blocking. So it would be interesting to knit this again with another yarn combination and just see if that's true, right? Test it out with the 4mm and just see. Okay, so while I was doing all of that finishing, of course I hadn't cast on anything else immediately in the meantime. So I finished the socks, and I finished my vest, and I finished this, and I was like, I only have one whip. What am I gonna do? Right? I had a skein of Cascade, I believe it's Katana. We're going to check. Cantata. I was close. And yeah, so I had purchased this a while back just because I forget what website I was on. We'll put it over here. But of course, it's my favorite color. So I was like, well, this seems interesting. It's a blown yarn. And I was like, I've never really worked with anything like that. And just look at the color. Anyway, all I had was one skein of it. And I thought, well, that's a hat. That's easy. That's a hat. So instead of doing my usual just 2x2 rib hat up all the way, I wanted to try doing something with a little bit of texture. So I just put in this broken rib texture. I totally riffed this pattern. I just started with a stitch count that seemed right. Which I don't remember what it is right now. So if I will look at my knitting notebook and see if I wrote it down. Hopefully I did. Anyway, so I knit it. I didn't want this to be too tall of a hat. I don't really love super slouchy hats for myself. I do think that maybe my cast on was a little bit loose, perhaps. Maybe I should have gone down a needle size, because this was knit on a 5.5 millimeter needle, and maybe I should have gone down 1 or 2 needle sizes just for the cast on, and then, or for the ribbing as well, and then switched for this. But in any case, let's try it on. Don't want to mess up my hair. Well, it is what it is. Hat head is always, that's not bad. That's cute. That's okay. But hat head is real no matter how much hair you have. So yeah, I think it looks really cute. And you can see here, like, it could have a pom-pom. I don't know that it will, but it could. Yeah. And it sits up nicely. Let me just look this way. Yeah. So I think it's pretty cute. I have a bunch of other winter accessories that are in this color, so I think that could be really, really cute with my other stuff. But the hilarious part is that I love knitting hats, and I wear one hat. I have one hat that I wear. It is a hand knit, so go me. Yeah, I knit myself all these other nice hats, and then do I wear them? No, I reach for my gray cabled hat that I love so much that I knit, I don't know, it's got to be at least 8 years ago, if not more. So the hilarity of knitting a bunch of hats but only wearing one. So we'll see if that gets into rotation. That is it for finished objects, but that's a lot. That's like, it's been a while since I've finished that many things. It's 5 things in the span of like 4 weeks. So let's move on to whips. My first whip is the Jaunty by Andrea Mowry. Let's turn it this way because this is the right side. I've got my little marker here. Oh, and I'll just bring it up here, see if we can get it in the frame. It's a little cauldron with some crystals. And that is by Twill in Print. I have a bunch of their progress keepers, and I love them. They're so decorative and so cute. So they're always in my rotation when I need to mark like the right side or the wrong side of something. I tend to go for those. Anyway, this is the Jaunty by Andrea Mowry. It is, I believe it's half fisherman's rib. And it's going to be a little triangle scarf. I am using, some, would we call it handspun? So this is local to me yarn. The person whose yarn this is now a coworker of mine, but back in the day, she used to have alpacas, and she, spun the yarn from the alpacas and sold the yarn at the local farmer's market and in our local yarn store. And when I was working at the local yarn store, that is where I picked up this particular skein because I loved the color. I believe the color is called Emerald. I don't have the label with me. It's over there. But yeah, so this is, I believe it's 100% alpaca fingering. And I just thought, I have had this in my stash for ages and ages and ages. And luckily, she doesn't watch this podcast. My stepmother has a beautiful quilted coat that has this color in it. And I thought for Christmas, it would be really nice to give her a winter accessory that would go with her quilted coat. And it's literally made out of an old quilt that either belonged to her mother or my grandmother. So because both of those women were quilters, I believe. So yeah, this other local lady made her the coat, and it has this lovely green in it. So I am contributing to the winter aesthetic of my stepmother by knitting her this. So I'm approaching the halfway point on this, and I have under 400 yards of this. So hopefully with blocking, because I have heard that half fisherman's rib blocks out, I'll say significantly. We're going to find out. I will be very interested. And I will also be very interested to see whether the alpaca content also contributes to that. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to having this done. I'm really enjoying the actual process of knitting this in the meantime, but I am looking forward to having it done. Mostly so that I can check it off my gifting list, so that my stepmom is off the list, done, don't have to worry about it, don't have to panic before Christmas. So yeah, so that's my Jaunty. Because I'm enjoying this so much, and I talked about my yarn acquisition in my last episode, I am very excited to cast on my own Jaunty after this is done. So I am really looking forward to that. Okay, and then because I finished a pair of socks, that means I have to cast on a pair of socks, obviously. So, this ball of, and this is split in half, so this isn't all I have. I have another ball. So don't panic, everybody. This ball of mystery gold yarn that I got at this year, I think it was this year's craft supply swap at my work at the local library, has been sitting around, and I've decided to finally cast on and use it. I can already tell that this sock yarn is much more rustic than what I will wear personally on my feet. Doesn't mean I'm not going to knit the socks, right? I can always gift these to someone at some point. But I am knitting the October chart from, get your water bottles ready, from the Colorwork, not the Colorwork Cuff Club, the Cuff Club Volume 2 by Summer Lee. And this is the October chart, which is a beautiful lace chart that I really, really enjoyed. So I have only just finished the chart on it. And basically the leg is done. These are, I think, I have to double check the pattern, but it is a much shorter leg, or can be, I guess, can be a much shorter leg on these socks than normal. So we'll see how much more leg I knit before I start working on the heel. And if you look at the pattern photo, which I will put it up, she used gold yarn. I was like, cool, I have gold yarn. And honestly, that's what made me decide that this was the chart that I was going to do, because otherwise I would have done something else if I had different yarn on hand. So yeah, those are knitting up really nicely. I split the ball in half just because I don't truly know how much yardage I have. There was no label with this at the swap. I do know that it's fingering weight. I weighed it, and there's just under 100 grams. So it is enough for a pair of socks, but it's like, of what size, right? And will I have to, if I decide to do a larger size, or a longer foot, will I have to, use another color on the toe or anything like that? We're gonna find out. But so far I'm really liking how that's working up. Again, the yarn is too rustic for me, but I don't mind using it up. I grabbed it out of the swap for a reason, so I'm gonna use it. Okay, that is it for my works in progress at the moment. Let's talk about what I'm looking forward to casting on. I already mentioned that I'm very excited to cast on my own version of the Jaunty by Andrea Mowry with the Twill and Print Buxom base yarn. So that is really, as soon as I'm on the downhill slide for the one that I just showed you, then I will be casting on the one for myself, and I'm really looking forward to that. The other, and this is, once again, I make plans and then I don't stick to them. I think it was on Pinterest, because, of course, right? As soon as we enter any holiday season, be it Halloween, Christmas, or whatever you celebrate during the winter months, my Pinterest anyway is just ready to show me all sorts of knitted things. It shows me that all the time, but then it seems to go over into overdrive like this time of year. So it's like all the knitted things. So I saw you know what? I'll just put up the photo. I saw this photo. And I was like, well, what pattern is that? Because that's cute. I do love a black and white color combination. I enjoy that a lot. And I liked the fact that it had shorter sleeves on it, because my workplace is warm. So it's warm sometimes, depending on where you are. Anyway, having the ability to layer is really handy. So having short sleeves, it's pretty good. So I did some digging. Turns out it is the pattern called Pink Velvet by Andrea Mowry. Ta-da! Anyway, I was very inspired by this black and white version, and that is what I want to knit next. I think that's what my next garment is going to be. Not the season for short sleeves, but it doesn't matter. I do think that the color work aspect of this is very winter. So I think I don't want to say I can get away with, because that's not what I'm here for, but it's like I am inspired to work on it now because it seems a little bit wintry, but also it's going to fit into my wardrobe because I'm going to put shorter sleeves on it. So that is very exciting. And then I have the stuff that I've been talking about in my Ravelry queue for the last few episodes, like practically since I started this podcast. And winter's coming. I may want to hunker down and just work on a bunch of garments. We'll find out. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope that wherever you are, you're feeling safe and you're feeling cozy. And until I see you next time, keep those stitches moving.